This video is brought to you by Omaze, where you can enter for your chance to win $20,000 for the PC build of your dreams, but more on them in just a little bit.
What?
Got him.
Is it just him? Nice. Good knock.
He hit fired me every single headshot. Actually.
Sounds like Warzone.
One on. Race.
He just goes, no.
Okay.
And I was getting shot in the back from top.
Good, I'm spawning.
Broken. Top brick.
I doubt my still there.
Where?
This guy on my level. He's underneath me.
There's another one under, by the
Got
way.
him.
I'm gonna shot.
Yep.
It's a tail.
My gun won't pull out. Yeah, stick.
There's three. Three on
Okay.
that.
Healing.
Same.
Down one.
Good knock.
Nice.
Cracked one, knocked one as well. Love this.
Three.
One's moving. They're moving res.
One back.
I'm gonna stun. Stun. This is all you, Jordan.
I'm coming up.
Left. One more. Self.
I don't have ammo.
And I got him. No, nothing.
Why?
I'm doing anything.
That doesn't. Oh, Raven. And it's just left.
Yep.
We'll see ya.
Okay, just by top. Yes. Oh. Can we get it back on this stage?
Can you back
Wait. Oh, he's. Oh, they. Oh, yeah. Never.
So the FARA 83. This thing was incredible whenever we talked about it for short range, but as of recently, you'll probably see a lot of people starting to make the shift to long range play with the FARA, and for good reason. The FARA's got an incredibly viable TTK, good damage profile, a decent range, decent handling, but as of recently, there was some updates to weapons and attachments in particular with Season 4's update for Warzone, and this is what really drastically helped this weapon because it makes this weapon viable at not just close quarters ranges like we've talked about in seasons past, where the double rifle meta would live on, but instead it allows it to be something that contests the kings of the rifle category, taking on long range play and allowing you to have those engagements covered from short, medium, and long range. But with the current builds here and what we'll talk about in this loadout is that it allows you to have the best possible power for every single one of those ranges. Sometimes you're gonna get some weird trade-offs where if you want an extreme long range or something like that with a sniper rifle, you'll lose out on either long range to mid range if you don't take a rifle, but if you take an SMG, you lose out on that mid to long range while having short game covered. But with the loadout we're gonna be talking about here today, I think this is probably one of the most well-rounded and well-balanced loadouts that you can have to attack any given certain area of play, close, medium, and long range play. The FARA 83 though, again being that sort of main meta, the stunner here of it, but the Milano that we overkill with it isn't too far off here as well. So starting out with the FARA though, on this build we're going to end up running the GRU suppressor. For this, we're taking the GRU over the standard suppressor given that it's our range option. We have something that is available in close quarters play of that Milano, which we'll talk about in just a second, that lets us get that gun up quicker and take those closer quarters engagements. As a rule of thumb, if you want a faster gun up movement with your weapon and don't really care about range play as much, the sound suppressor is the way to go. It increases bullet velocity, doesn't increase that damage range whereas the GRU suppressor does, but allows you to also have better sprint of fire time as well as a better ADS. So it's a bit of a trade-off here on which you want to do. But with the GRU added on the FARA, that adds sound suppression and keeps you off the radar, but also allows for an increase in that damage range as well as bullet velocity to the max that it possibly can be. But what's also nice is that you'll see with the barrel selection as well, you gain additional recoil control due to the weapon having a little bit of a heavier attachment on that barrel. A sort of realism mitigation here with it that pulls that barrel down just by the added weight. And you do that by only losing out on a little bit of the ADS speed and aim walking steadiness along with aiming stability. The second attachment is the most important probably in my opinion, that being the 18.7-inch Spetsnaz RPK barrel, because this was the main factor in the making of this weapon becoming incredibly viable as a main meta weapon. With Season 4's launch, we ended up getting getting a various number of weapon attachments adjusted, as we mentioned. But the RPK, the strike team barrels, things like that on the rifles, they ended up getting the bullet velocity increased by a whopping 50%, the effective damage range increased by a 35% boost, a significant one at that, and horizontal and vertical recoil control increased by 15%, and only with slight reductions in the ADS move speed, sprint speed, ADS speed, and hip fire spread. And when you think about this for long range, if you're using it for long range, you're not going to really need any of those that are marked off by the cons. You're not going to be hip firing over that range, and you're certainly not going to be having this out while up close, or at least you shouldn't. But for sacrifices in that area that punishes your movement slightly, if you're going to take an SMG as a dual overkill here for this, it's just an absurdly easy choice in that trade-off. Damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control that makes this thing an absolute laser with a wildly high damage profile. It's just an easy option. Now, whereas we mentioned we lose a little bit in that mobility due to that Spetsnaz RPK barrel, we gain a little bit more in terms of the Tiger Team Spotlight being added onto it. It allows you a little bit in terms of that movement speed and aim walking movement speed, while only having a slight sacrifice of the aiming stability, and for long range, the con that you really don't care about, a flashlight visible to enemies. Now, oftentimes players don't care too much for this and will substitute in, say, the field agent grip for added recoil control, and that is a totally viable option and definitely something that if I don't want a little bit more movement speed, I would highly recommend adding that on in place of it. But for me, with the Spetsnaz barrel, adding that additional recoil control, it's a bit redundant as the control is already incredibly easy to manage in that recoil, so adding another attachment to control the recoil further is a bit of a misuse in terms of your weapon management, in my opinion. You can end up easily taking another benefit to the weapon in your handling and mobility, whereas you won't notice too much of an effect in how easy the recoil is to control with or without that field agent foregrip. To close out the weapon, we end up running the Axillary Arms 3x optic just because we like this for range, and the iron sights are not optimal for that, and the Spetsnaz 60-round mag as well, so you end up getting additional ammo capacity. Now, overall, the weapon itself will have a slower ADS to it. It will be a little bit sluggish in terms of running with this weapon out, but that's where you end up making up for some of that stuff with the Milano in a few seconds, like we'll talk about. But the real main focal point here is the absolute ease of ability to control that recoil and the damage profile you'll be afforded over a distance. It's only about 600 milliseconds here in that time to kill at a distance, which is incredible, and with something that is absolutely so steady as a laser. Think the Kilo, but killing in half the time, and you can't go wrong with this thing. Now, before I jump over to the Milano and talk about the rest of the build, I want to give a thank you to today's sponsor, Omaze. Omaze is a fundraising platform for the new generation of donors. They're a sustainable approach to fundraising for nonprofits, which allows them to give away one-of-a-kind prizes and experiences while donating a portion of the funds to charities across the world. Their approach means that nonprofits can spend less time and money raising funds and instead can focus on the needs of their communities. Today, Omaze is partnered with School on Wheels, a charity that works with students experiencing homelessness, where their volunteers provide free tutoring and mentoring to children from kindergarten through 12th grade living in shelters, motels, vehicles, foster homes, and the streets of Southern California. Over the past 28 years, they've served more than 50,000 students and will continue to do so in the future. Omaze is bridging the gap and bringing awareness to their work by putting up $20,000 to build your dream PC. Whether you want to make the wildest gaming rig imaginable, kit out your setup with the best peripherals on the market like monitors, headsets, or upgrade some key components to your build already like graphics cards, or maybe just want to optimize that work from home experience, this campaign is a great way to potentially win that while supporting a great cause. Now, to potentially win that $20,000 for your dream PC build and support the School on Wheels great cause, go to omaze.com/espresso. That's OMAZE.com/espresso, or click the link in the top of the description. Now, jumping over to the Milano, this is one that has become a big meta once again. Now, a lot of people are actually trying this at range. Personally, I still like this more so for close quarters engagements, and the time to kill definitely will not argue with that either way. But for this, we end up kitting it out for sprint to fire time, ADS time, and of course then your overall damage that the Milano naturally affords with you. For this, we end up starting with the sound suppressor. That comes back to that sort of Coke or Pepsi debate between the sound suppressor and the agency and GRU suppressor. The sound suppressor, like we mentioned, more so is fitted towards closer quarters engagements as it offers up additional aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed while sacrificing a little bit in that damage range. We're taking this for close quarters, so we do want to use that sound suppressor so that we end up getting that additional gun up benefits. The Task Force barrel is one that we run with the majority of our SMGs, so we can end up gaining a little bit back in that effective damage range, gain a little bit more in that bullet velocity, which is crucial for trying to get your shots to land as fast as possible, which in gunfights can actually make a huge difference. And then strafing speed, which is huge if you want to take an engagement where you know somebody's waiting for you around the corner or something like that. You don't have to run around the corner and hope you get your gun up in time. Instead, it can just be up as is. The Tiger Team Spotlight, we run on this for additional movement speed and aim walking movement speed. The Raider stock for additional ADS firing move speed, aiming walking movement speed, and additional sprint to fire time with a slight penalty in hip fire accuracy. And then the 55 round drum mag for additional ammo so that we can take out 2-3 players, maybe even 4 if we're efficient with our shots in a single gunfight. Now, what's huge about this is, of course, the power that it affords, but also that it's such a fast-moving weapon. It is the fastest-moving SMG, if I'm not mistaken here, beating out the Mach 10 and allowing you to zoom through Verdansk, and whenever you have something that is a little bit more bulky, like a FARA on your back, it's great to be able to switch to this and still have that speed that it affords you. Now, while it doesn't necessarily have the fastest fire rates, the TTK is where you absolutely can excel. So making sure that you land your shots, getting that gun up in certain situations while challenging close to medium range, that is where you're going to excel the most and where this is the most deadly. So when you come back to it and look at it overall as a class build for the FARA paired with the Milano, you end up having that close, medium, and long range covered with absurdly fast TTKs and incredibly easy to manage weapons. So you're going to absolutely be shredding through your enemies in Verdansk. To close out the build though, we end up running EOD, Overkill, and Amped with the Semtex and stun grenades as our lethals and tacticals. Now, whenever we end up getting that free loadout at the end of Zone 1 or beginning of Zone 5, I'll end up usually switching over to Restock in place of Overkill so that we can end up getting a little bit more benefits there as well. We can play a little bit more aggressive, end up challenging more gunfights because we'll get more stuns, more grenades back here with this. But of course, you can use something like Ghost if you don't want to use Restock, you want to stay off the radar. Personally, I don't like to play like that all that much, so I end up switching over to Restock, but you do with it whatever you want. But I'm telling you, man, you try this build out. This is going to be the next main meta here that you're going to see for quite some time, or at least until the next tuning pass here with it. Raven seems to be relatively on top of things when it comes to weapon balance and weapon tuning, so I can't imagine this stays king for all that long, or at least too long, so get your chance to play with it while you can. The MG82 was recently nerfed. Maybe the FARA is right around the corner as well, but it's absolutely something that will help you out in your game, getting more kills and potentially even winning more. So that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I want to share this with you guys. This has been my favorite class setup as of late, so wanted to get it into your hands as well. Drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Are you guys liking the FARA? Are you liking the Milano? Are you liking both and or this build? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so I'm a single thing running all things Warzone and anything COD related. Best meta loadouts, best loadouts in general, underrated weapons, and classes you just should check out. Hit the subscribe button if you guys are interested. We'll keep you up to date with all of it. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Suppressor. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.